train coalition next to Cologne, so there's really no way at the moment, but I think in the evening maybe there will be a way. Yeah, so my name is Alexander. I work at the German Bundestag, National Parliament of Germany, but my presentation are, of course, just my very personal views. And although I studied law with international relations, my presentation is, of course, as usual, not any legal advice. So I start with this, being German, of course, I start with a car. So, and we will probably later talk a lot about data protection and how it's bad and how it's good and everything. So just want to make this point that data protection is a bit like brakes, but why do cars have brakes? In order to go faster. So I would argue that good data protection is actually better than having no data protection, also for a fast enabling research. So I skip the first few and I come to the German situation. So I think what we actually want all is to talk about enhancing research and innovation. So if you're discussing this topic, I think we can, let's say, no matter how different our point of views may be, we can agree that properly conducted health data research will benefit us all and is urgently needed to foster innovation, to do better research, but also to even maintain, at least for Germany, I can say this, to even maintain the quality of our healthcare system as it is now, because we will not be able to keep it. So with this short introduction, I go a little bit deeper in the German world. So first I look at the status quo, then we dive a little bit into the Health Data Utilization Act, the new law in Germany, and then a bit more future orientated to the EU health data space. Then finally, vision of how maybe we could shape new regulations, and see what we can do. I was asked to also say a little bit about German longevity organizations. Maybe put this to the questions at the end, but also I can highlight there a few points if you want. So where do we start? When it comes to health data, as with actually all personal data, we begin with the GDPR and the supplements in Germany, such as the Federal Data Protection Act. So they serve as under fundamental framework. So however, there are major changes with the specific provision for processing health data. So especially due to how the GDPR has been integrated into our German national law. So there are a lot of challenges. For instance, the rules processing health data in Germany are very diverse. One might even call it a bit chaotic. It's a lot of patchwork on regulations, as Germany has also a lot of 16 regions, which all have their different, each of them has their own, actually, but there's two data protection officers, makes cooperation between clinics from different, for example, clinics from different regions not so easy. So in general, the processing of health data means, or is regulated in Article 9 of the GDPR. So the key question is always, which clause applies to reachers? So there's a consent in Article 9, together with 6 and 7. There's one possible pathway, and this works in theory. In practice, this consent you can give there is often not sufficient enough because it's too limited for data availability, practical challenges in managing this consent, and especially what a consent is and how broad a consent is also something very, very important and also tricky when it comes to research. So in reality, we often rely on Article 9.2, which is especially designed for scientific research. So looking further at GDPR, it's clear that the European legislator recognizes the value of scientific research, particularly on the content of health data processing. So this is also reinforced in Article 98. So, for example, we allow the reuse of data collected for other purposes, like medical treatments, as long as it's compatible with the original purpose. And that's already a problem, already questioned what is the original purpose compared to what we do with it, or what people want to do with it. So there are exceptions to start limitations. Maybe I skipped a few more lower details. In practice, I often come across ambitious idea for handling health data that then cannot be implemented. So the main reason is the legal uncertainties with the highly legal regulatory environment. So the mix of federal laws, varying from state level to state level, interfering with the hospital laws, which make a compliance a real big challenge for research projects. So I sometimes experience that if companies or universities can choose where to start their research, they often, although Germany has a very good basic research, if they can, they often don't start the new projects in Germany. So I continue to what makes it also a problem. So then focusing a bit more on the consent. So the definition of health data has been interpreted quite broadly. So the ECJ just, I think, in the beginning of the year, there was a ruling clarifying that pseudonymous data is considered personal data if it can be reasonably linked to an individual. So we already have a problem if you was talking about anonymization or pseudonymization, and this technically is evolving in a way. So something what we already said, it's not linkable to a person anymore 20 years, it's not let's say true anymore today. Yeah. So that's, I would say, is a big question on how to deal with this. This is actually critical, given that the significant investments, for example, commercial entities might consider to make. So we discussed a little bit about broad consent models. So like, for example, proposed by the Medical Information Initiative, that's not yet data donation, but I would say it's the second best you can actually do. So we checked if maybe that's the way, and we see that some organizations work with this, but some organizations don't. They actually say that for them, they reject it because they have the fear that it's not actually legally strong enough. So the ECJ actually has ruled that the consent must be specific and informed with the severe limits of the flexibility of the consent frameworks. So, for example, the decision on telephone directories established with individuals, they must understand how the data will be used. A standard that poses even a stricter challenges for health data research. So I would say getting in a more and more complex situation. So my hope is actually that now with the European health data space, we will actually be in a way forced to do more to do more digitalization and make more use of our data. So in this response to the complexities of the legislator, Germany has now passed the Data Utilization Act, and the EU Health Data Space is not yet implemented in Germany, but it's already, let's say, thought about. So already this Data Utilization Act has some provisions which we will need for the European Health Data Space. So I think that's, at least we are on a good way, let's say. So we established a Central Data Access Authority, the BfArM, in Germany, which introduced new rules. So for linking and processing health data. So, and as we are expecting the health data space to be operational by 2026, we hope to have everything already running at this point, but this is really also a hope. So taking you once again a bit back to the German mindset, let's say, I would say that Germany is lagging behind technically, so we really don't have the infrastructure yet. We just having an electronic patient, in theory, we had an electronic patient record, which was just used by 0.5% of our population. Yeah. So now we will have first real, let's say, electronic patient record with the beginning of next year. So we are really lacking behind also the infrastructure for that from the Nordic countries, let's say, by not centuries, but by a few tens of years, decades. But also, I think it's crucial to say that for Germans, data it's not so. Data protection for us is very valuable. So if you compare, for example, to the Nordic countries, where you would say even an opt-out situation for sharing health data for research is considered not good, because health and research is such a high value. In Germany, probably most Germans would say, I value very much my personal choice who I give my data to. So what is crucial, I think, is that the German authorities must, in a way, earn and maintain the trust of the population. But this trust is at risk at the moment. I would say there are a lot of concerns that are raised with sharing these health data with other EU member states that could lead to, let's say, our German GDPR standard. So additionally, there's criticism that the public is not adequately informed about the developments and implementations of the EHDS. So, like mentioned, patients and researchers, so they stand to benefit from most of this initiative, I'm sure, but yet in Germany, the discourse remains dominated by the risks and dangers. I would say not so much on the opportunities and the benefits, but I hope it can, with a few NGOs, maybe make the case that we should focus more on the opportunities. So what I really liked was Professor Büchs. She's the former chair of the German Ethics Council. She actually put it, the goal must be to enable data usage, not to prevent it. So with this, I hope we will get there eventually. Just checking for the time of my, but we have time for this. So this is the
you have time, no problem.
Okay, so this is what in theory is planned. So the BfArM is already existing, but until now it's had still today has a bit of a different role. But in future, this should be designed as a central authority for data access, and it will strengthen the role of existing research centers. So even we put in the law, but the legislator put in the law, we really would love to have this one-stop approach to enable multiple parties to collaborate without requiring separate responsibilities for each. So a process previously it was difficult. Previously, you had multiple supervisory authorities. So a key element of the law is the entitlement access linked to the data granting healthcare research, but the data will not go to the institutes. They will be allowed to use the data and have access, but they cannot basically take the data. I would say the data linkage increases the risk to the individual. Which is there the law mandates a strict security measures and high penalties, which I think is always a good thing for lawyers. But no, but I think it should be a high penalty. So then we have more detailed regulations governing the access to data from, for example, cancer registries, because what legally is a cancer registry? Is it research? Is it just data holding center? So I think it's not totally clear yet. But another role will be played by the Federal Statistical Office and the Robert Koch Institute, which then must approve the request to do research, which is another let's say layer of oversight, but which is of course also a bit more bureaucratic, and I'm not yet 100% sure how this will work together with the one-stop shop vision. So yeah, that's what I briefly mentioned before. This what I think is at the moment in Germany the best thing you can do is this medical informatics initiative in Germany. They developed something like a broad consensus, which kind of uses the legal privilege of altruistic research. So I think this is something if one could use. Yeah, this is actually what the European Health Data Space is all about. It's taken from the Commission's website, but you probably know this now from the last presentation. Yeah, so I think I will stop here for questions, and then I can also go a bit more into Germany if you want.
Yes, I have